The movie opens with a woman in her mid-20s carrying a crying baby to her boyfriend's house. Her name's Sonia, and she's a new mom. She's exhausted after taking care of her baby by herself. The baby's father is her boyfriend, a gaunt, strange man named Bruno. Sonia waited for Bruno after she gave birth, but he never showed up. With no other option, she goes to Bruno's place because she desperately needs his help with the baby. He isn't there. He rented the apartment for a couple to be intimate. Sonia's mad at him. Not only did he leave her alone when she needed him the most, but now he's gone. She searches for him everywhere, calling people that know him to see if they know where he is. She finally finds him, after hours of walking with the baby. He's begging for money on the street. Bruno is surprised to see her there. They haven't seen each other since she gave birth. Sonia shows him their baby, Jimmy, asking if he wants to hold him. Bruno is hesitant to hold such a fragile baby, but Sonia insists. Before he can hold the baby, he sees the person he has been watching for a while leaving a restaurant. He's waiting for the opportunity to steal from them. Sonia can't believe Bruno is still doing illegal things. She's worried about what's going to happen with her and Jimmy without his help. Bruno doesn't have a house or a steady job, neither does Sonia. He usually spends the night at a men's shelter, and he suggests Sonia does the same. She wonders if he at least has some money for her, but he doesn't. Despite their terrible situation, Sonia still loves Bruno. They have fun together, and she wants to go back to him. Later on, Bruno meets his employees, two kids who steal things for Bruno to sell. Bruno shares the money from the stealing with them, and they go their separate ways. With the money, Bruno buys some things for Jimmy. They go to a shelter to spend the night, but it's already too late to enter. Sonia explains they have a baby, and the owner allows them entrance. There, they go to different bedrooms. Bruno receives a call from one of his clients. He quickly agrees to meet with them, and leaves the shelter without telling Sonia. His client buys some of his stolen objects, and asks about Sonia. Bruno explains that they recently had a baby, and the woman informs him that babies can be sold for adoption. She gives him an agency card, and Bruno keeps it. Bruno spends the whole night selling his things, and in the morning, he's able to buy a baby carrier and a car. Sonia is waiting for him with Jimmy at the shelter. She's happy to see that Bruno is taking fatherhood seriously, and that he's willing to take care of them. On their way to his apartment, they have fun and make out. Sonia points out to Bruno that they need to go to the registry to register Jimmy, and Bruno agrees. Sonia wants to give Jimmy Bruno's grandfather's name, Nicola. Sonia and Bruno act like teenagers goofing around, instead of responsible adults with a baby. Sonia believes in Bruno, not knowing the extent he would go to get money. She thinks he's happy about Jimmy, and that they will be a happy family. But Bruno doesn't know how to be a family man. His whole life he has spent stealing things and doing illegal jobs. He loves Sonia, but he would never change his behavior, not even for her. Back at his apartment, one of the boys who works for him goes there to ask for more money. Bruno pays him the percentage of what he sold during the night. While talking to the boy, Jimmy's nurse shows up to examine him. Bruno quickly stops talking about his job with the boy, afraid of someone finding out that he's a criminal. Bruno doesn't stay with the nurse and Sonia. He only watches them from afar while he smokes. Bruno would never admit it to Sonia, but he doesn't feel anything for Jimmy. Not like she does. He has no paternal feelings for the baby. Everything he's doing for the kid is because of Sonia. He wants her to be happy. On their way to the registry, he spends a lot of money on a jacket for her. They register Jimmy, and then they go to the bank. Sonia offers Bruno to take a walk with Jimmy while she waits on the line, and he agrees. He begs for money on the streets, this time with a baby. Bruno finds out that people tend to feel sorry for him if he's a father. That gives Bruno an idea. Maybe Jimmy for adoption wouldn't be a bad thing. He and Sonia would get enough money to last some time, and they could make another baby if she's sad. Without checking with Sonia if she agrees with the idea, he calls the adoption agency. They agree to see Jimmy, and Bruno goes there right away. Lying to Sonia that he's in the park with Jimmy, he goes to the other side of town, to the house of the people who want to adopt him. There's no one home, so Bruno has to find a place to wait. He finds an empty apartment and calls his contact. He has to go to another room, while the person takes Jimmy. Bruno can't see their faces, or know who they are. He leaves and goes to another room. There, he waits with bated breath for the person to take Jimmy. In the silence of the room, he questions if what he's doing is right. He knows Sonia is happy with the baby, but at the same time, they have no jobs or ways to take care of him. They are irresponsible and don't take things seriously. Jimmy would be better off with a family who will love and care for him. Still, his heart pounds with anxiety. He soon receives another call that the deal is done. The place where Jimmy was sleeping is empty. There's only an envelope full of money instead. It's a lot of money, more than he could ever get with his stolen objects. Bruno quickly goes back to meet with his boss, to give her a share of the money. Sonia calls him, but he doesn't answer right away. He can't lie to her again, and if she asks about Jimmy, he will be forced to tell the truth. On his way, Sonia sees him with the baby carrier. She calls his name, but he pretends not to listen. Sonia goes after him, finding him smoking. The baby carrier is empty. She asks about Jimmy, and Bruno nonchalantly informs her that their baby. He already has a plan to lie to the police about Jimmy being kidnapped. Sonia is shocked. She keeps asking where her baby is, but Bruno doesn't know. To comfort her, he callously says that they can make another baby. He's even proud of the amount of money he got from the deal. Sonia is completely silent. When she sees the money, a confirmation that he isn't joking, she passes out. Bruno tries to wake her up, but she's too weak. Later on, while Sonia is hospitalized, Bruno calls his boss to call off the deal. He still has the money, and he wants Jimmy back. He thought Sonia would be fine with it, that she would understand, but it was the opposite. He feels horrible. Bruno goes after Jimmy while Sonia stays in the hospital. He asks the nurse to inform her that he will bring the baby back when she awakens. On his way to grab Jimmy, Bruno has some time to ponder about his decisions. In retrospect, he can't believe he sold his baby to strangers, all to get some money. Not only that, but he didn't warn Sonia about his plan. She didn't deserve to be hospitalized because of his actions. She was happy and hopeful that they would be a family, only for him to selfishly destroy her dream. Bruno arrives at the meeting place and waits for the baby. A few minutes later, a man asks for the money and his cell phone. Luckily, Jimmy is fine. Bruno's relieved that he has his baby back, and that Sonia won't be so mad at him. He'll soon find out that there are consequences for his mistakes. As he leaves with Jimmy, a man stops him. It's the man responsible for the deal. He informs Bruno that he owes him double the money for calling off the deal. Bruno tries to argue with him that he gave the money back, but the man doesn't accept his excuses. Bruno goes back to the hospital with Jimmy. He wants to see Sonia, but one of the nurses doesn't allow him. A few minutes later, Sonia's doctor and nurse show up with two strange men behind them. They are the police. Sonia pressed charges against Bruno, and now he has to give his testimony. The nurse takes Jimmy away, and Bruno is taken by the cops. During the interrogation, Bruno only lies. He explains that he took the baby as revenge against Sonia, because the baby isn't his. She likes sleeping with many men, and he was angry at her. He adds that Sonia was lying about the money she saw with him. Bruno is released after the interrogation. The cops believe his story. He goes back to the hospital to see Sonia, but she isn't there anymore. He asks one of the nurses to call her, but Sonia doesn't want to see him again. She's afraid he will do something with Jimmy again. Bruno begs for her cell phone number, but the nurse refuses to give it to him. Bruno wanders around the city, feeling lost. In the evening, he goes to his mother's house to warn her about his lie to the police. He wants her to be his alibi, to discredit Sonia even more. His mother agrees. The following morning, Bruno searches everywhere for Sonia. He walks around the city with the baby carrier until he finally finds her. Sonia doesn't want to see him. Bruno follows her while she ignores him. He doesn't know how to make amends. Sonia always put his needs before hers. She was a constant in his life, and he ruined it, like he did everything else. He asks to borrow Sonia's cell phone, and she ignores him again. Sonia goes back to his apartment, still in silence. She takes care of Jimmy and makes some food while Bruno watches. He approaches her after some time, wondering why she's so mad at him. He thought she would be fine with it. In his mind, they could make another baby at any given time. When he tries to grab some bread, Sonia attacks him, and they get into a fight. Bruno immobilizes her while Sonia squirms. When he lets her go, she yells at him to leave her be. Bruno grabs the baby carrier and finally leaves. He tries selling the baby carrier, but the buyer doesn't want to pay a lot of money for it. Bruno doesn't know what to do. For the first time ever, he has no brilliant ideas to make his life easier. He goes to another store to sell the baby carrier and accepts to sell it for a low price. He even sells Sonia's jacket for almost nothing. Later on, he goes to a bar to eat something, when the man who bought the baby shows up. He points out to Bruno that he didn't pay his debt, and starts beating him up. He takes all the money he has, and warns him that he will show up every Sunday to take more money from him. Bruno explains that he doesn't have any money, so the man suggests he steal for him. With no way out of that situation, Bruno agrees. Bruno's hit rock bottom. He's penniless, alone, and hungry. All the money he had was stolen, which is ironic, considering he steals for a living. He lost the woman he loves because of his foolish actions. His mother doesn't care about him. He's completely alone in the world, and he's the only one to blame. Bruno goes back to the apartment and tries talking to Sonia. She isn't there. Bruno wants to cry and beg for her forgiveness. He took her for granted, and he regrets it. Sonia arrives some time later with Jimmy and sees Bruno coming in her direction. She tries ignoring him, but he gets on his knees and hugs her legs to prevent her from leaving. He begs her to forgive him, that he needs her. He never meant to hurt her. Sonia pushes him away, intending to go back to the apartment without him. Bruno tries to convince her that they are even, because she told the police about what he did. Sonia can't believe his shameless behavior. He doesn't regret his actions, only the fact that he was found. She knows that he would have gone through with it if she hadn't been mad. Bruno promises her that he's a changed man, and that he wants to try again for her. She doesn't believe him at all, not even when he says he loves her. Sonia realized that Bruno can't love anyone but himself, not even his own baby. She closes the door in his face. Bruno begs for some food, at least, but she ignores him again. Bruno goes to his secret spot to sleep, hungry, cold, and alone. The next morning, he goes after one of the boys who work for him. He manages to get some money to buy something to eat, and schedules a meeting with the boy. He does nothing the rest of the morning. Later on, Bruno and the boy go around the town, stealing things from people. After stealing a woman's purse, they are followed by two men. They are relentless. Bruno and the boy take the money from the purse and throw it away. The bike breaks in the middle of their escape, and they have to leave it behind. They hide, but the men come after them. Bruno hides the money they got from stealing the woman and takes the boy into the river to hide. They stay there for a long time, waiting. The boy doesn't know how to swim and almost drowns. Bruno manages to save him. The boy is in shock from the cold. Bruno has to take him on his back to an abandoned structure. He rubs the boy's feet while he whimpers in pain. When he's well enough, he leaves him behind to grab the money and the bike. The boy is worried Bruno will run away with the money and his bike, but Bruno promises he won't. When he's grabbing the bike, he sees the men entering the place where the boy is. They grab the kid to take him to the police. Bruno can't save him anymore. Now he's worried the boy will tell the police who he is. He goes back to Sonia's apartment, but she isn't there. He carries the bike all over town until he reaches the police station. He's looking for the boy. The boy is detained. Bruno asks to talk to him, and he's granted permission, but only in the presence of the police. Bruno knows he may be arrested, but he's tired of running. After a long, gruesome week, all he wants is to rest. He owes money to a gang who sells kids, and Sonia isn't talking to him. His whole life is a mess. Maybe going to jail is the right choice for him. At least there, he will have a place to sleep and food. The boy is surprised to see Bruno there. He gives him his bike keys back, along with the stolen money. He takes responsibility for the stealing, and he's arrested. When she learns Bruno was arrested, Sonia decides to go visit him. She's still angry about what he did to her and their baby, but she also loves him. Knowing that he took responsibility for once showed her that he can change. Maybe he's ready to finally grow up and be an adult. Bruno can't believe it when he sees Sonia there, waiting for him. He understands now what he did was wrong, and he regrets it. They sit face to face in silence for a moment. The silence is filled with bitterness and regret. Sonia breaks the silence first, offering him some coffee. He asks about the baby, and she replies that he's fine. When he drinks the coffee, Bruno starts sobbing. He feels terrible for the way he treated Sonia and Jimmy. He sold him as if he was a watch or a necklace he stole. Sonia didn't deserve to think that she lost her baby forever. Sonia cries with him. She still loves him, which only exacerbates the gravity of what he did to her. She was happy to be with him and their baby, even if they didn't have a lot of money. All she ever wanted was to build a family with him, but he shattered it with his selfishness. Now, life has caught up with him, and Bruno must face the consequences of his mistakes. When he reaches out to grab her hands, she clings to him for dear life. They cry together, looking into each other's eyes. Sonia doesn't know what life will be like from then on. She only knows that she can't leave Bruno alone. She will be there for him, to care for him, and hold him when things get too hard. Bruno may be selfish and only think about himself, but Sonia is the opposite. Her love is boundless, and she's willing to forgive him.